It's actually Stein. It's neither. It's Dr. Stein.
Welcome to Holistic Kids Show. My name is Zane.
And my name's Abdullah.
And my name's Imad.
We're the Holistic Kids, here to educate us kids from the inside out. Chronic diseases have quadrupled among children since the 1960s. In 1994, 1 in 8 children had a chronic condition. Now 54% of all American children are diagnosed with a chronic health condition, with which numbers increasing to 80% by 2025. Kids' brains are also getting sicker. Serious depression is worsening
with a suicide rate among teen girls reaching a 40-year high and has increased for 13 years in a row, hitting those that live in less populated and rural areas. The hardest 16. Suicide risks have soared to 56% between 2007 and 2016, despite the 400% increase of antidepressant prescriptions in the US since the 1990s. The number of teenage girls out of 100,000 who are admitted to a hospital every year because they were cutting or harming themselves. That number was stable until 2011. Then it started to go up as more or around 62% older teen girls and 189% for preteen girls, nearly triple. We are also seeing the same patterns for suicide. The older teen girls, or 15 to 19, is up 70% compared to the first decade of the century. The preteen girls, who normally have low rates to begin with, are also up by 151.
Those are very statistic stories. What is going on? A really depression that is behind all of that?
Is that, I think that's your question for me, right? That's where I come in. Yeah, there's a little bit of a delay in, and I think what you say and then what I hear. So I apologize for that.
It's okay.
Well, we're in luck. We have an expert, her who will help us answer just that question. Dr. Achina Stein is an author of What If It's Not Depression?
Your guide to finding answers and solutions. She is a board-certified psychiatrist.
Yes.
And has been in practice for 25 plus years. Propelled by her son's health crisis in 2010, she found functional medicine, which resolved all of his mental health problems as well as her own. She has a busy private practice called Functional Mind LLC in Riverside, where she sees patients for functional medicine primarily, but also for psychotherapy. And what's your story? You can share that with us?
Sure, yeah. So my son, actually, he was about a year older than you when he started having depression and anxiety. We were actually traveling in Europe, and he became really depressed and suicidal and wanted to hurt himself. And it was really shocking because it was an overnight change. And so when we got home, I had him see a psychiatrist, and we put him on some medications, and he got better. He wasn't suicidal anymore, but no one could tell me why he got so sick, and he wasn't completely better. All his symptoms didn't go away. Just some of his symptoms got better. And so he was taking 4 medications, and that really made me think, like, there's got to be something else going on here, because I couldn't explain why it happened. And I'm a psychiatrist of all people. It just didn't make any sense to me. And I knew that something else was going on in his brain because he couldn't read anymore. Can you imagine, like, one day being able to read fine, and he was a fast reader, remembered everything he read, and then the next day you just can't even read at all. So I knew something was wrong with his brain, and nobody could explain that. And so I did my research, and nobody could help me, so I did my research and found functional medicine, and we made a lot of changes that had nothing to do with medications. And in fact, it got those changes, we can talk about some more, if you want, but those changes in his diet and lifestyle really made a huge difference. And he was able to come off of all the medications that he was taking. I mean, these medications saved his life, so it's a good thing that we had them at the time. But then, the goal would be to figure out, like, well, why did this happen in the first place, and to sort of fix what went wrong,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and that's what we did. So ever since then, I became a functional medicine doctor, a functional medicine psychiatrist, and I see a lot of people with similar issues and do the same thing for them that I did for my son, or learned through my experience with my son.
That is amazing.
Amazing.
Amazing. We are so honored to have you on the show. So empowering. Wait, why are mental health problems in kids on a rise today?
Well, you mentioned a whole bunch of statistics that um, you know point to a lot of different things. It's not just one thing. There's a lot of things going on that affect kids' mental health. I could list a whole bunch of them. One is, the media. I'm sure you know all about how the media can cause kids to have a lot of anxiety and depression. We see a lot of violence in media. There's a lot of uncertainty around what's going on in the world, and sometimes kids don't feel safe, and so there's a lot of stuff on TV and in the movies that can be kind of scary. But it also has a lot to do with our lifestyle and the food we eat. There are a lot of kids who eat a lot of sugar and foods we call processed foods. Those are foods that are full of lots of artificial flavors and chemicals and lots of sugar and chemicals. And I mentioned chemicals, but artificial flavors. There are kids that actually react to those kinds of things. But it's pretty much a high carb diet, which carbohydrates are primarily grains like wheat, barley, and rye. They're called gluten grains, and not enough healthy fats, and certainly not enough vegetables and fruits. So we really need to flip that on a side. I just see that there's a delay here. We need to flip that and have a lot more healthy fats and protein and less carbs, less sugar, less donuts and cookies and soda pop or soda,
All those things.
sugary drinks. Yeah. So and there's a lot of kids that are not really moving around. They tend to sit in front of computers, and there's very little movement. Moving your body is really important for all sorts of reasons. It helps you sleep better at night. It moves toxins out of your body, and it's just exercise alone improves your mood. Just that alone improves your mood. So there's lots of things that you can do to improve your mood. And so if you imagine, coming home, having a cookie, sit in front of the TV or the computer, not moving around, staying up really late, then you got to get up really early, so you get not enough sleep. All of these impact, on your mood for sure.
Can we start from the beginning? What exactly is depression?
So depression is a symptom, and it is something that it's a word that describes how you feel a certain mood. It's a sadness that you can have every day, all day, for many days in a row. But or it could feel just like a lack of pleasure. Um, but so many people use the word depression to um, describe, things that are better. There's better words for, like, disappointment or irritable or frustrated. It's not a word, like if they say, oh, I'm so depressed because I broke my nail, like that's not a good word to use. You could say I'm upset or I'm disappointed. Depression is really much more of a clinical term, and that is a symptom. But there is a syndrome of symptoms, a combination of symptoms that can lead to what we call a clinical depression or a major depression. There's different kinds of depression. And so that's probably more than you really want to know. But I hope that answers your questions. It's others. There's better words. There's so many words to describe a feeling that some people use the word depression to describe things that are better described in other ways. And actually, my book has over 100 words that you could use instead, believe it or not.
That is wonderful.
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 I have always wondered, does depression really happen in kids?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I've had patients as young as 4 years old. Um, but the younger I see it, the more I find that it's related to their diet and lifestyle, believe it or not. I mean, there's lots of reasons why a person can be depressed. It could be something that is biological. It could be something that's psychological. It could be something that's related to their environment around what's happening around them. But it also could be something that's not right in the body, physiological. So I look for all the possible causes of depression. Not just one cause, and bring the body back into balance by addressing each and every one of those causes.
So, how can parents start getting answers for their kids?
Well, I think it depends on what it is, so, and what age they are. So if they're in school, um, I think the first place a parent can start is with the teacher and the counselor, guidance counselor, get some other opinions about whatever the parent sees at home. A teacher or a guidance counselor might see something different. Um, Certainly, if there's a daycare person or a nanny, I mean, it's looking at what's happening. And depending on how old the child is just say, hey, I noticed this going on. What's going on with you? Like, just have a conversation about what's being observed, what's being noticed, and say, are you okay? What's going on? I noticed this is happening, and I noticed that happening, and started after this. Are you upset about anything? Do you want to talk about it? And to let your child know that I'm here for you. I love you, and I want you to know that you're safe to talk about whatever it is that's bothering you. You know, would you say that that would be the
Yes.
best way to do a kid, right?
Yeah. So, what are some signs or symptoms of depression?
So like I said, depression is a symptom. So the clinical symptoms of depression, which is a syndrome, like I said before, can include changes in your sleep every day, most of the day, energy level. Like I said, feeling sad every day, most of the day. It can affect your ability to have energy and movement it's what we call, the technical term is psychomotor retardation, meaning like your couch potato, or feeling restless and antsy, can't seem to settle down. You could have concentration problems, but it becomes a clinical syndrome when you have all of these symptoms. There's having at least five of these symptoms every day, most of the day, for at least 2 weeks. And it can be as bad as severe as having suicidal thoughts every day, most of the day, and changes in your perceptions, like hearing voices or seeing things. And that's when it's really bad. So that would be a very severe depression if you start having paranoid thoughts or hallucinations, what we call hallucinations, where you have a change in your perception of things. So you can have a very mild syndrome to a very severe syndrome. And it's important, if it is those more severe symptoms, to see a doctor right away and to be evaluated, or a therapist at a crisis center to be evaluated. It's not something that you should wait and see. It is something that you should be evaluated for right away, and make sure that you're safe. Make sure that person is safe.
So a lot of people don't link how they feel to what they eat. Is there really a link between social health and nutrition?
Absolutely. There's definitely a link. There's sugar, like I said, is a huge cause of mood changes, mood, anxiety, concentration problems. I see that as a major cause of issues for kids. And kids don't eat enough vegetables. You get a lot of your nutrients from eating a rainbow variety of vegetables, and having, ideally you want to have like 7 to 8 vegetables a day, which is kind of hard. It's kind of hard to do. But if you have a colorful list, you can do it. Kids have done it. I've seen kids do it. And if you're involved in the kitchen as a kid and helping out and even growing your own food, that makes it even more interesting. You get more connected to your food and understand how food is truly medicine. The other thing is like I said, eating a healthy fats, a really great healthy fat is avocados. And some kids think, oh my gosh, avocados, I don't like avocados. But if you like guacamole, you like avocados. Do you like guacamole?
Yes.
Yes, I love guacamole. Guacamole is a great healthy fat. Great healthy fat. So yes. And so your brain, 80% of your brain is fat. And so sometimes we don't give our brains the fats and that it needs. All your brain cells are insulated with fat. And so you need healthy fats. Eggs are really good for you too, as long as you're not allergic to them. Eggs are good, really, really good for your brain as well. Those are some examples.
A lot of people don't like how they feel. What foods hurt a child's mental health?
I don't think I understood that question. Can you repeat that?
Yeah. What foods hurt a child's mental health?
Well, we talked about sugar. It's worth saying it again.
Yes, definitely.
But believe it or not, a lot of kids have sensitivities to dairy and gluten. Gluten is a type of protein in certain grains. And so the first thing that you can do is have a trial off of foods that have gluten and dairy. The third top one is soy, and the fourth top one is corn. So sugar is not really a food category. It's an ingredient that processed sugars. Certainly, I'm including sugar. To take sugar, gluten, dairy out of the diet, that is the best and fastest way, to be honest, to see. It takes only about 3 weeks to notice a difference. Sometimes a little bit longer because the brain is really sensitive. It's a sensitive organ. Out of all the organs in our body, the brain is, in my opinion, the most sensitive, but I'm biased. So, but taking out those foods will really help a lot to at least see if that's what's going on. But when people see me in my office, that's part of my plan. Take those three food categories out, and also for kids, artificial flavors. I'm sorry to say that Fruit Loops are not something I like, because tons of artificial flavors, um, and there's a lot of candy that has artificial flavors as well. So it is a matter of choosing different kinds of treats for Halloween. That's coming up soon.
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely. So, what foods are best for our brains?
Okay, I think I already mentioned that, but like fats are definitely important, and there's certain types of protein, amino acids. Um, I like, I like to give a nice compilation of good amino acids um, to people for the brain. But the best way to provide that are healthy proteins. Um, foods that are lean meats and fish, things like fish. Do you guys like fish
I
and
do.
meat?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I
So, but foods that are high in omega-3s, fish oil. So things like salmon salmon and tuna are good with omega-3s. The smaller the fish, the healthier the fish, because unfortunately some of our fish is contaminated with mercury. So if you stick to fish like sardines and anchovies and mackerel, and there are some really good brands. Some kids don't like sardines, but it's choosing the right brand. So if you ever try sardines and you don't like them, try a higher quality brand. But once you find, I have some names if you are interested. But it is definitely helpful to have healthy fats and protein, and reducing the carbs as much as possible, except for vegetables. Vegetables are the best carbs.
I mean, vegetables do have carbs in them, but
Yes.
yes. The world is so negative these days, with all the social media and all the, like you mentioned, all the TV and everything on the media. So does that make a difference? Does that make a difference in making depression worse, or actually contributing to it?
Absolutely, because there's so much violence on TV and all the computer games, right? There's a lot of violence on computer games. Absolutely, it makes things worse. In fact, many of my patients, when I tell them to turn off the TV or just stop watching TV, and not just the kids, even adults, like just stop watching the news, and being traumatized every single day by, especially when the news is on repeat every 5 minutes, they're updating you with one little new fact that changed from 5 minutes ago. Some people have the TV on all day long. And so if you're interested in the news, you're probably better off reading it or just getting some short clips, but not to have it on all day. But switch over from watching violent movies where people are killing each other. Anybody would be distressed from that, not just kids, adults too. And the thing is, the younger you are, it's hard to know what's real and what's not real. So for a little kid, for 8 and on younger, you don't know if what's happening on TV is happening for real. So it's a lot of times kids don't feel safe, and that can make a child very anxious, feeling helpless. And when you feel helpless, then that can lead to depression. And then they're not able to sleep because they're so upset and worried about what they just saw on TV. So I don't think a lot of adults realize how much it impacts a kid. And then they grow up thinking that's all real. It's like, it's not real, but they don't know that, right?
Right.
What other lifestyle factors help our brain?
Okay, let's see. We already talked about diet. We talked a lot about diet. We talked about some exercise. So exercise, movement, believe it or not, exercise alone is equal to the effectiveness as an antidepressant, just by itself for mild depression, mild to moderate depression. So, so movement is really important, and removing toxins. So I know you guys don't drink alcohol, but believe it or not, I've actually seen kids as young as your oldest brother here, and who's 13, as young as you, smoking cigarettes and drinking alcohol, and it's like the worst thing you could put in your body. It can really, your brains are too young to be affected by those things. Should not have toxins. Those are just two toxins that people are exposed to. So, but there are toxins in the home of people in the home smoking cigarettes, but there's other kinds of toxins like mold toxin. Believe it or not, if you have a mold problem, that can actually cause depression. So there are other types of things like infections, like Epstein-Barr virus is a type of infection. It's a type of virus, and and I've had some patients your age having Lyme's disease, and there's co-infections that a tick can carry that can cause changes in your mood. There's strep infections that can cause depression and anxiety. So basically the four categories are foods, infections, toxins, and stress is the last one. Stress is stress in your life, in the home, your life, in school, bullying. These are all violent TV, violent video games. These are all can be really stressful to a kid's brain. So
Are these lab tests parents can get on their child to find the root cause of depression?
there are some lab tests. Absolutely. I do a stool test and a urine test. So there's a stool test there's a company that I use called Great Plains Lab. Well, actually the company is Diagnostic Solutions Lab, and it's called the GI map. That's the stool test. The other company is Great Plains Lab for the urine test. I do an organic acid test on every kid that I see. So those are the top two tests, and I do some blood work as well. Yeah.
That is one thing parents can do today to help improve their child's mental health.
It was what is, not that is.
What is one thing? I think tune in to your child. Really sit down with them, hold them, hug them, spend time with your child. And sometimes, most kids, I think if you say, hey, is anything wrong? They usually say, oh, no, I'm fine. No, I'm fine. No, I'm fine. But sometimes you kind of have to just be with a kid for a while in order for them to open up. You know what I used to do when my kids were little? I used to fold laundry with wherever they were. I'd bring the laundry basket and I'd just stand there and fold, wouldn't say anything, just stand there, fold my laundry. And eventually they would just start talking about what's going on. I didn't ask any questions. All I did was fold the laundry or I'd do the dishes. I'll always be where they are and hang out and not have any particular, oh, how is school? How is this? How is that? How is, like the 21 questions? Do you get the 21 questions? Some kids don't like to be peppered by all these questions, and they just kind of want to shut up the parent by saying, I'm fine. It was okay. It was fine. It was okay. And not really talk about what's bothering them. I think the best way to get a kid to open up is to just be in their space and keep letting them know I'm here in different ways. It doesn't have to be verbally saying, I'm here. It's just saying, I'm present for you. I'm present for you. And you can talk about, it's giving that air, that space and air. It's like, I'm here for you and just you. And you can talk up to me about anything at anytime you want. You've got my full attention, And then eventually I think kids open up about what's really bothering them because they feel safe and they feel like they can trust you.
My mom does that too. Wow, you are so inspirational. How can people learn more about you and your work? Please tell us about your book.
Oh, so you guys mentioned it, but here's what it looks like. There's a delay here, you could tell, but that's what it looks like. What if it's not depression? And you can get it on Amazon. You can get a print copy. You can get an Audible copy, or you can get a Kindle copy. And you mentioned that my practice was in Riverside, but you didn't say where Riverside was. Riverside's in Rhode Island. Do you guys know where Rhode Island is?
No.
Yes,
Yes.
I know. I learned it in 4th grade.
It's the smallest state. Anyway, that's where I'm at. I'm in Rhode Island. And so some people can come see me in my private practice one-on-one. I've had people fly out to see me. But my big thing is, in order for me to help more and more people, I started this 12-week boot camp. And it's been really successful. And I find that the group model is really, really helpful for people to meet their health needs, health goal, and mental health goal needs, and needs. And so it's just, sometimes people know what they need to do. They know that they need to eat right. They know that they need to change their sleep patterns. They know they need to exercise, but it's kind of hard to get motivated. And sometimes people don't know the right order of doing certain things. So this is like a coaching program where I coach and people can meet with me for 90 minutes a week as compared to once every other month. So, and you motivate each other as a group to get all the things that you need to get done. And it's more fun that way, right? You look forward to, hey, this is what I did. How did you do? And you kind of cheer each other on. Don't you think a group works better than doing things by yourself?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Teamwork makes the dream work.
Yeah, that's right.
That was so empowering. Everyone make sure to follow Dr. Stein on social media.
Thank you so much, Dr. Stein. Let's recap your key points. There's so much depression that meets the eye. When kids are depressed, there could be a lot more going on. There's so much we can do to help our mental health. Food infections, toxins, and stress can all contribute to depression. Tune into your child. Remove sugar, wheat, dairy, soy, and corn. Get rid of artificial flavors and include tons of rainbow foods to help boost our brain health. Stop watching the news and don't have it on all day long. And don't let us kids watch too much violence on the screen, as that can lead to anxiety and being depressed. Exercise alone is equal to the effectiveness of medication on the mind to moderate depression. Lower stress. Less stress leads to more chronic conditions, including depression. So get outside and meditate.
Meditate.
Yeah, I forgot to mention meditation. Meditation is very, very important to begin as a practice. It takes work to get to a really good practice.
Wow, Dr. Stein. That was amazing. Thank you again for honoring us with your time.
Oh, thank you for your time. It was a really, real great pleasure as well to meet you guys and talk about all of this stuff. Thank you for your interest in what I do.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Until next time, I'm Zain Ansari.
I'm Abdullah.
And I'm Imad.
Follow my family on social media, Holistic Mom MD, and look out for my mom's book, The Holistic RX, Your Guide to Chronic Inflammation and Disease. And we are so excited to announce our mom's new books, The Holistic RX for Kids, Parenting Healthy Brains and Bodies in a Changing World, and the amazing children's book we wrote together called Adam's Healing Adventure. So check it out on Amazon. Yay! Power of Rainbow.
So kids need to learn from other kids, right, son?
Right. Kids need to learn from other kids. Please download our podcast on iTunes and leave a review so other kids and families can benefit. We need to work together to create a healthier future for all of us and the planet. Join us next week for another episode of the Holistic Kids Show, where kids are empowering kids. Thank you,
Thank you,
everyone.
everyone.